No, we're in space. We're in space, actually.
How appropriate.
It's 6 a.m. here. We're in South Africa.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we don't make any sense, it's not our fault.
Are you there working on season 2 of The Crown?
We are.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. I guess we could start by telling us everything that happens. Well, I don't know if you can see this audience, but this is an audience of SAG actors, so I always like to start by asking, how did you get your SAG card? And I'm hoping as foreigners you have a SAG card.
I think it was something to do with tax.
I haven't got.
Yeah, ask John.
I got my SAG card.
Oh, look at that, a theater act, 2-time Tony winner, projecting.
I just, can you see me, guys? The way I can see you?
Yeah.
It's wonderful to see you. I miss you.
We miss you.
I miss you desperately. You see, I'm not in season 2. My first SAG card, I think it was for Obsession, a film I did with Brian De Palma. It was my first movie, but somehow or other I managed to do a movie without a SAG card. My first movie was actually a Warner Brothers movie called Dealing, or the Berkeley to Boston 40 Brick Lost Bag Blues. Raise your hands if you've that film.
Well, maybe I can ask you guys, what was your first job in the business, the first time you felt like you could call yourself an actor?
Oh, sorry, I thought that was just to the audience.
Start back there.
Yeah.
This is all very peculiar.
Yeah.
My first ever job I got without an agent or anything. It was Being Human. You've had Being Human, haven't you, over there?
Yeah.
I did the pilot in the UK, and a casting director who'd been to my showcase that I did at the end of drama school came and she asked me in for the audition, and then I managed to get that, and then I got an agent. Thank God. So my first job, my first ever. I mean, home really as well. That was my first audition, my first everything. It was pretty odd. Yeah.
So it's just that easy,
Yeah, boy.
Hey, I was working. Yeah. Anyway, it wasn't my first other job. There were plenty of other ones.
No.
And Matt, what about you?
My first job as an actor was at the Royal Court Theatre upstairs, and it was an American play, actually. And again, it was my first audition. They'd been casting for ages. I was actually at university, and they were like, it was called Fresh Kills, and it was about a gigolo in New York, a boy. It was a great part. I had to slit my throat at the end, and it was all very dramatic. I loved it.
And look how far you all have come with The Crown. This show is created and written by the great Peter Morgan, one of my favorite playwrights, and also by Stephen Daldry, who have obviously explored the British royal family in previous works. How did the project find its way to you guys, and what attracted you to the roles?
It was just the normal way, really. Just got sent the script and then just auditioned for it. But it was a very odd, because it comes out of such a pedigree that they've done it before in various different guises. Do you know what I mean? So you sort of know going into it that it's very special, but not really knowing what to make of it either, because it's a bit of a daunting thing going in for someone who's so well known.
Yeah.
What do you do? Like, you go in and do like a full-on impression, or which could be really embarrassing. Or what do you do? Or do you try and be like, I don't really know? And so, but I think they didn't really know either. So it was just sort of a meeting of everyone going, we don't really. This is a misfit experiment. Quite nice, because I think so rarely as an actor you're like in at the beginning stages where you're made to feel like your input is of some value. You're made to feel like you just go in and have to get the job. But they were like, what do you think? I was like, don't ask me that. I don't know. Told. I don't know. And then we met.
That's why I wanted to obviously do it. Yeah, no, I had a screen test with Claire, who was heavily pregnant at the time. And I just thought it was, again, I had 2 auditions, one on my own and then a screen test with Claire. And I just thought it was rather marvellous, really. And then I found out John Lithgow was doing it and I could burst into flames.
It's a common reaction. And John, did it ever even occur to you, like, when you think of the great roles you want to play, that Winston Churchill would come your way?
No, never dreamed of it. I got a phone call from my agent who said Daldry wanted me for this, and I knew Stephen very slightly, had always wanted to work with him. Claire was in the conversation immediately. It was going to be about the young Queen Elizabeth in the early 50s, and Churchill was going to be like her mentor, helping her to become queen, and the queen was going to be Claire Foy. That and Peter Morgan and Netflix, all these other things. I said yes immediately. I didn't need any persuading at all. And I got together with Stephen, and he told me about Matt. So the 3 of us, I think, were the very first elements in the mix. Everybody else wanted in, and we were already there.
Can you talk about, like, transforming into Churchill? Because you're so recognizable. So to see you in something where you're totally unrecognizable is really strange. And you've also got to be the tallest Churchill ever.
Yes, I was very concerned about the height, and we had 2 weeks of rehearsal, which was more or less sitting around tables and talking history. We barely read scenes. And toward the end of this 2 weeks, I said, Stephen, there's a gigantic elephant in the room. No, it's me. Way too tall for Churchill. What are we going to do about this? And he said, nothing. Just ignore it. It's not an issue. The only accommodation they made at all for my height was they built a door to 10 Downing Street that's a little taller than the actual door, just because there are so many famous photographs of prime ministers at the door, particularly Churchill, with his little V sign, and so they had a tall door to make me look shorter. But that was it. He said that, and I hunched over a good deal.
And what about for you guys? I mean, playing people so iconic, how much of it do you need to look like them, or do you want to be an imitation but also want to create your own character?
Well, I think what Nina Gold, who's a brilliant kind of casting director, has done on this is she's cast people with the right energy, hopefully. And this was never about imitation. We were never trying to aim for caricatures. We were always trying to capture an energy and sort of reinvent it through ourselves, but based on the truth and based on the facts. And we had a good team of people around us really to sort of support us in trying to articulate what we thought these people were. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
Does it? Do you have anything to
Remember, 6 a.m.
Does it show?
But I think you sort of, it's a hard line to thread, I think, that concept. But I think it's pretty much what John just said, that they just went, just don't worry about it and just go for it. Just go for it. Be bold. Don't be scared of what the reaction would be or what people might interpret it as, because you'd never do anything if you did that. So we all just had to go, oh, this could be a disaster, and dive in. And then I think when you go into something with the best possible intentions, then you just hope it comes out all right.
I think we were all intimidated by the project, but at least they had the advantage of being English.
I know there is an advance.
I was such a tank, and I felt very much terrified. Look at these 2 people. I mean, this was typical of the people I was working with. So welcoming and it was like, come on in and play, and they were perfectly happy with me playing Churchill. They had more confidence in me than I did.
I'm so sorry. You guys don't have beds, or is that wishful thinking on my part? Your background is there.
If you can see how depressing this room is, it's like a conference room.
I have to tell you guys, I am in a room with fabulous.
Well, yeah, we're just doing this from my suite.
I'm so
It's like a party.
I so want to hear everything from you about how it's going and what you're up to. You've been about 6 weeks now already?
No, 3 months. No,
Yeah,
we're on December.
December, yeah. 3 months.
3 months in.
Wow.
I was with 300 cows yesterday, in the middle of 300 cows. All these bulls, and I've been in on gorges, and we've been in Tongan villages. It's been amazing. It's been really good fun.
I've been in the audience room.
Yeah.
I haven't been with 300 cows.
With Macmillan,
Sorry.
who we don't like as much as Churchill. Anyway.
So I'm curious, when you're playing a real life person, especially someone who's still alive, I know there's an intimidation factor, but is it also helpful to have so much research to draw on? And was there anything you uncovered in your research that actually surprised you that you didn't know?
Well, we had a remarkable woman who was our historical consultant, a young woman, and she happened to be an American, actually, a sort of in-depth scholar. There was nothing she didn't know about this era and all these people. It was extraordinary. In my case, I did a tremendous amount of reading about Churchill before I even got over there to England and started working with everybody. And I just, I don't know how many of you all are Churchill fans. I thought I knew a lot about him. I knew nothing about him. And the most illuminating and extraordinary thing about him, to me, was his young years, tracking him from his childhood to his teenage years to his 20s and 30s. To me, it very much informed him as an old man. His desperate insecurities as a child, miserably unhappy and lonely childhood, and this feeling of being inept and behind and a failure. To me, it completely informed everything I did, playing him as an old man. I mean, it's an old man is facing mortality, and he's full of fear and frailty and folly. To also have insecurities that you've been carrying with you your whole life, I just found that fascinating, and the way he compensated for it. As a young man, he compensated for it by hurling himself into near-death experiences in battle on about 5 different continents. Amazing. Before he was 30 years old. As an old man, he deals with it with his savagery and arrogance and grouchiness. That's the other side of a very, very complicated kind of spectrum of feelings.
What about for you guys?
I want to listen to John.
I want to think John. Let's talk about. But I felt like the opposite problem in a way, that you sort of have to, you're playing someone at the beginning of their life, or their adult life anyway, that at the age of 90 you think you know everything about, which is an odd thing, because you can't kind of, you can't end game, you can't think that you know everything about, that that's the person they are now is the person that they were when they were 25. I mean, essentially everybody is, but so that was a difficulty, not difficulty, but a challenge, I think, to kind of go, what do you think you know about them? Yeah. Well, then, undo all that, and the confidence and the kind of belief in themselves and all those sorts of things that come with age, you hope. And then actually you realise that, when they were 25 and, starting out and stuff, it might not be quite the case. But we did, there was so much research in there and preparation, and I think there had to be. Yeah, which was invaluable. I was just really fascinated by his sort of tale
And the amazing thing about Prince Philip is that we think we know him, which is, I think what Claire was alluding to. And actually, in his case particularly, we really don't. And again, his early years were totally kind of formative in who he is, and actually were really traumatic, which is what we're exploring a bit this year. I don't know if that read. It probably looks like I've got some really strange facial shit. Yeah, and just the sort of really, I was really fascinated by the trauma and the and I think that's really informed the strange misconception of him, and that's what I really enjoyed, was unpicking the misconception.
You want to take some questions from the audience? We have some microphones, I think, so hopefully you guys will be able to hear. If you have questions, raise your hand. Start right here on the audience. Sorry.
I'll just holler it out. If John could talk a little bit about the reaction on both sides of the pond of people in the industry discovering that you were going to be Winston Churchill, and your reaction to their reaction.
About the reaction of people on both sides of the pond discovering you were going to be Winston Churchill, and your reaction to that reaction.
Yeah. Well, the first, Nick Heitner is a very good friend of mine. I've worked with Sir Nicholas Heitner, who has worked with both of these folks. I emailed him that I had a big job in England over many months, and I wasn't going to tell him. I couldn't tell him what it is yet. All I could say that it wasn't on stage. And he emailed me back, well, let me guess. He said, I bet it's this Netflix thing, The Crown, that every single actor wants to get into. What role is it? Is it the old king? And he said, if it's Churchill, you should know that every major actor in London will have a contract out on him. And then about 3 weeks later, I saw him. He was in New York, and I said, Nick, you nailed it. It's Churchill. And his response was, they will kill you. That was the first time I began to have a little anxiety. But as I say, really, it was just the work process. I mean, meeting these two enchanting people, and they were among the major people. Actually, I never got to act with Matt at all. We managed to find one moment when we looked at each other. That was it. And that was a great disappointment, because Matt has become such a friend. In fact, I'm dying to talk to you about the Liverpool loss.
Oh my God, you're overtasting. Well,
I'll never recover from it. Anyway, we took a match together, but I didn't get to act with him. I didn't get to act with him, and now I probably never will. But Claire and I had fantastic scenes.
Yeah.
Absolutely the most wonderful person to act with, except for the fact that I kept making her laugh. She just laughed at me all the time, out of control.
With you, not at you.
Or at me.
I couldn't help. Oh, it was amazing.
To the extent that there's comic relief in The Crown, it's me. And Churchill was very funny himself.
Yeah. We have some questions in the front. Well, let's go right there, because you're close to a mic. She's actually handing you one right now.
Since the series has been in release since November 4th, and people talk, have you heard anything from the crowd?
Yes, have you heard anything from the royal family themselves?
Any news there?
Stephen, yeah, we saw that. It's not, Stephen saw, can you say that?
I don't know what you're going to say.
About William?
Well, yeah.
Is that a response? I'm not sure it is. Yeah, sorry. Stephen Daldry saw Prince William, didn't he? Where was it? Oh no, actually no, we haven't heard a thing. There's a sniper on the roof, I can see him, he's going to shoot me. No. The answer is no, we haven't.
Was it thumbs up or thumbs down?
It was indifferent.
It was. Can confirm that they have a Netflix subscription.
Yes, that's what you know.
That was all.
Yeah.
That was all.
Well, that's
That
what
was all we got.
Netflix is interested in.
I've said to
But I mean, that's kind of the point of the entire series. They are famously private to the point of
Yes.
mute in dealing with the public. And that's what makes the series so compelling. It's about a family which is simultaneously the most public and the most private family in the world. And what's so fascinating is to really get up close and personal to people that are a complete mystery to us. And they maintain that as a very strict policy.
For decades, it's insane, actually. We have one down here in front. I can also always give them my microphone.
Well, I'm pretty good without that, but thank you very much.
Yes, you are.
I'm speaking to the front row of the theater in this case. Yes, what did you find the most challenging, question for all of you, most challenging aspect in approaching the role? And besides in John's case, besides the contract killing and the height differential.
Most challenging part of your role?
I've always said the only hard roles are the badly written ones. This is superbly written. The scenes were so easy to play because they were so complete. I had a lot of just technical, physical challenges. I spent 2 days getting the fat suit right. I had a marvelous collaborator, we all did, in Michelle Clapton, our great costume designer, most famous for Game of Thrones. I think she's won 5 Emmys.
Yeah.
5 Emmys, that's insane.
Something like that. The great makeup artist, Ivana Primorac.
Yes.
And we did the costuming and the makeup and the hair. That helped me enormously because it really made you feel like a man. I felt very fat and very old. That came in extremely handy. But these were not challenges. This was exciting. This was the transformation. I was just as excited as anybody, just by the sight of me. Without standing in front of the mirror with my massive naked body.
Would you ever go out in it, or you know?
No, I do have one selfie in my pants.
I just wanted to grab him up and put my account. Lithgow's really let himself go.
Stephen told me he had talked to someone, he wouldn't tell me who it was, who knew me well, who had not known it was me, watching 2 entire episodes.
That's a great compliment. What about for you guys, the most difficult part?
I think she's from a very different background to me.
Yeah.
And that was challenging, I think. The idea of playing someone who has very little contact with the world, I think. And I think sometimes if you have a lot of contact with the world, you're able to, become ever so slightly cynical or jaded, or you have the sort of, I'm not saying she didn't have any hard knocks in life, because she did, but you are sort of beaten up by the world a little bit, and you learn how to deal with that. So that was tricky for me to constantly having to check myself and go, no, remember that's not really your set of your history in this, I suppose. But like John said, it wasn't really a difficulty, and it was more just sort of, it's amazing getting to know people in that way. You know what I mean? Getting to know your characters in that way, I think.
You learn, and these two, you'll notice they speak very differently in real life than they do as Elizabeth and Philip. We had a terrific dialect coach who spent just as much time with them as he did with me. I was a massive redo, but they had a lot of adjustments to make too. And they sound
We had a massive redo, trust me.
they sound exactly like the Royals. It's amazing.
And Nat, what about you?
Well, I mean, I would concur with that because actually we are just lowly commoners, really, me and Claire. So yeah, you know, we are the middle class. But I would say, I think, you know, again, the challenge and, you know, the thing that's kind of difficult and also that is enticing about Philip is slightly about unpicking that misconception. I'm not sure what the conception of him is in America, but in England, there's a sort of people view him as slightly, and I think unfairly, as a bit of a buffoon. And also, you know, as someone who can be slightly unpopular, and slightly more base than he is, and I found him to be very rich and very bright, and I liked him, and so I wanted to find sort of strands in him because I just thought he was cool. I thought he was a rock star, really. So I thought, yeah, let's go for that. So yeah. I don't know if I've made any sense, but yeah.
I swear I listened to everything you just said, but I have to ask, is that a skull ring you're wearing?
Yeah, no, it's a navel ring that I got in New York, actually. Can you see it?
Okay. Now I can see it better. Sorry. There it is.
But I've got, you know, there are other things I can show you. Oh, well, this is a local thing I got in London, which is just like a little tin thing, which my girlfriend bought me. Yeah. It has a heart on it.
What do you take this down here? And while you're asking the question, I gotta get a picture of this because this is just so weird. The whole audience behind it. Yeah, maybe John should get in there.
The fact that you're all alone there, and I'm here with, what is it, about 300 people?
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna have a lovely evening.
You have a lovely evening. Although we're actually going to go and climb Table Mountain. So there.
Are you shooting there?
I'm gonna get
This is a touristic day? Or
Yes, day off.
How nice.
Yeah.
What are you shooting?
Yeah.
Are you on another royal tour? I mean, what scenes are you shooting?
Yes, tell us everything.
You can't tell us anything, can you? Not
You
even-
just get on a boat. You get on a boat.
Yeah, basically she shoved him off on a world tour for 5 months. So, you know, I'm doing that. I'm on the world tour. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Last year, I never got to go to South Africa nor Scotland. Only London, but I was there for 8
You're
months.
lucky there.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was 8 months in London. My wife took a sabbatical and came and stayed with me the entire time, and I worked about 1/4 of the time. It was one hell of a dream job.
So we have a question down here. I don't know if you got the mic around.
Is it me? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, hi. First of all, thank you. I really enjoyed the screening, and I think everybody's acting was really, really amazing.
Here you go.
And I have an actor's question. What is your way of getting into the character? And I don't mean creating the character because it's a lot of work and it's too long to talk about, but more of getting back into the character, let's say after lunch or after talking to your colleagues. Is there anything you do, like, I don't know, breathing technique or meditation?
No, it's almost embarrassing how little we actually do to prepare. I speak for all three of us. I mean, by the time you get your fat suit and your costume and your wig on, not to mention your plumpers. I had these plumpers. Notice that I had jowls as Churchill that I don't have in real life, at least not to that extent. Those are little blobs that click onto my back teeth and make me sound extremely scared myself. By the time you've done all that, and I stuffed cotton up my nose, so I sounded very nasal, and I had a much bigger nose. You don't feel like yourself at all. So you ask, how do we prepare? You just do all that. The job is done.
Same for you guys?
No, we didn't have any plumpers. I think I don't know what proportion. I was mainly breastfeeding a child the entire time, my own child. Generally just frazzled, exhausted, hormonal, and a little bit. That's probably helped.
And nothing's changed.
And she really worked. I mean, Claire was in just everything. She was the queen. And it's
Yeah.
I mean, there were about 50 major British actors in this extraordinary company. But Claire, there's no question, she was the leading lady of this company. She was the queen. And the most wonderful person. She just created I'm pretending you're not here, Claire. Well, you're not here. She just, the whole tone of this company. I mean, these are a couple of dames, a couple of future knights, there's no question about it. And we were all in these tiny little drafty trailers sitting in parking lots that were 6 inches of mud. Just miserable conditions, really. And it was completely egalitarian, and nobody behaved hierarchically at all.
Ironically.
So much of it had to do with these two.
That is so wonderful, and I wanna curse you guys for ruining my Thanksgiving weekend because I couldn't leave my room. I was just watching the Crown. But thank you for a wonderful show. Can't wait to see what happens in the next season. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for being such great.